Okay, so my name is Lamm. I'm a data scientist at Talkspace, and I'm here to tell you about this enormous title which has so much stuff packed in there. It's how we used psychotherapy techniques to build a HIPAA-BAA compliant chatbot in the cloud. That's like every buzzword you can possibly think of, but it's all true. I also have data science up there, also buzzword. But yeah, I'm gonna try to move. It's a lot to cover. I'm going to try and touch on as much of this as possible and tell you sort of what we're all about. First of all, our logo is all over the place. Talkspace. So what we are a subscription-based online therapy platform. So we are a place where if you want to talk to a therapist, instead of going to the therapist's office, one way that you might do it is by paying for an account in Talkspace. So you're basically in a one-on-one chat room with a therapist. We match you to that therapist. They're a real-life licensed therapist on the other end who also is taking clients in their own clinic. They're licensed in your state. And instead of having a 1-hour session with them once every few weeks, you have sort of like an ongoing correspondence with them where you write to them when you feel like it. Once or twice a day, they're going to log in and they're going to see what you wrote and they're going to write something substantial back to you. And that's sort of the cadence of therapy. And yes, that's pretty much it. So here is the problem. So to go back to what Lucy said about the hammer and the nail, we are using ML to solve a very specific problem that we had. So the problem is our intake flow. So over here are all of these people who are interested in Talkspace. They come to our website or they download our app. They want to know what Talkspace is about, and maybe they're going to be someone who ends up purchasing a subscription and getting matched to a therapist. So we have two intake flows. So the one on the top is our primary one. It's a live matching agent. There's someone who's online. They are a licensed therapist. And before you even start paying, you're just going to chat with them, and they're going to answer any questions you have about Talkspace, about therapy, how much does it cost, is it really going to help me, here's what I'm going through, etc. And at the end of that free process, they're going to help you get matched with a therapist using our matching algorithm. They're going to help you choose a plan, and they're going to help you get set up, and then they're going to send you off to your therapist to get started with real therapy. The other flow that we have been developing is what we call our quick match flow. And this is a fully automated process. It's basically a survey that you fill out, and at the end of it, if you like what you've seen so far, you'll choose a therapist or choose a plan. You're done, you're ready to go. The problem with the live matching agent is that it is not scalable, obviously. If we had 100x users tomorrow, we can't just hire 100 more, 100 times the number of live matching agents. It's also costly to have another person on the other end. They have to be available 24/7, etc. Having this quick match flow seemed like a fantastic idea, but the problem that we came into very early on was that we found, even though there was still a good number of people who were purchasing and starting therapy, so many of them were canceling really quickly after. So our hypothesis was that there was some sort of personal connection that you get from talking to a live matching agent and telling them about why you came here, just voicing the fact that you came here because you're stressed at work or school, and how maybe that helps you get some investment early on. So here was one solution. We said, let's just try building a chatbot. Let's see if we can build something that is a scalable intake flow that matches the personal and therapeutic nature of Talkspace, but it's, as I mentioned, is very scalable and it's inexpensive. So our vision is a friendly AI assistant that shows a prospective client how Talkspace can help them, and it guides them to purchase a plan and match with a therapist. So it's instructing them, but it's also helping them get started. So we have the H word, HIPAA. How many of you work in a covered entity, a HIPAA covered entity? That's okay, that's a good number of people. The rest of you are HIPAA curious. So basically, if you are a covered entity like Talkspace, there are all sorts of regulations that you might know, that you might be familiar with, whether you work for one or not, about how you have to protect your data, how you have to store your data. You need to have a security officer who works for your company. Every employee needs to go through training. There's a lot about how you can use the data. And then if you are working with a third-party vendor, for instance, you need to enter into, and Lucy mentioned this earlier, a BAA. So a third-party vendor would be your business associate, and then they are basically signing a BAA, a business associate agreement, which is their way of saying, hey, you're allowing us to use your data. we are going to protect it by all of these same standards that you would as a HIPAA covered entity. So it's our agreement that we're sort of on the same page and they're going to protect our data. So whenever we send data out to a third-party vendor, we need to enter into a HIPAA-BAA with them. And as you can imagine, we, like many other HIPAA companies, are very always nervous about sharing our data with other places, and we're very cautious about who we share our data with. So when we set out to build this chatbot, we had to think of these questions. Where and how is the bot going to understand user messages? Where is it going to process all of this, all of the NLU that understands what a user's saying? And where is the bot going to make decisions about what to say next? Is there a model that lives somewhere else? Are we sending it off to some third party and they're going to send it back to us? Does that mean that we're giving up data, et cetera? So the first place we looked was Amazon Lex. And this is an example. If you are a HIPAA-covered entity, one way that you might evaluate different chatbot vendors, for instance, this seemed like a great place to go. Amazon Lex is a popular AWS framework. Covered entities can enter into a BAA with AWS. We use, so many AWS services as a company, as I'm sure most of you do. One problem, though, is that if you sort of do some digging around, you'll find out, and you can explore this on your own, that not every AWS service is HIPAA compliant. There's actually a long list of services that are, and you basically have to go through the list and make sure that the one you're using is HIPAA compliant. It turns out that Amazon Lex is not a HIPAA eligible AWS service. I don't know why. It seems like it should be. Recently, in the last week or two, Amazon released sort of a suite of HIPAA-compliant services, but Lex still isn't a part of it. So this is just a warning that you have to be very careful about doing your due diligence. So if we had used Amazon Lex, we would have been sending all of this text data out to Amazon Lex, which is not HIPAA-compliant, and getting back decisions from Amazon Lex, and to be careful with that. So we chose a platform called Raza. Are any of you familiar with Raza, the chatbot service? You're going to be now. I'm not getting paid for them to do this. So we chose it, first of all, because it's open source. So anyone can just play with the code. That also means that it can be hosted entirely on our own services. I'll show you in a moment a schema of how we set it up. But that means that we're not sending data anywhere else. We're just keeping data in our own HIPAA-BAA protected environment. Also, unlike most Q&A frameworks, and can handle more complex interactions. So we didn't just want a bot where you type in like, what do I do here? And it says like, welcome to Talkspace. We wanted the bot, in our specific case, to be guiding you along through these questions and interacting with you in a very specific way, which I'll talk about in a moment. Also, it was really easy to integrate with our own system. Since the code is open source, it had a lot of flexibility. In the end, we set it up to just to expose some API endpoints, and we set up the responses to be exactly the way we wanted it to do, and it was interacting with a front end. Our chat interface was just a simple React app that we whipped up. So a lot of flexibility there. And here's I almost fell off the stage. That would have been fun. Here's basically how Raza is set up. So it has two different models that are at play, which is really, this is sort of common for how a lot of chatbots can be set up. So in the top right corner, there's the NLU model. So it's just, if you send it an open text response, like if someone says, hi, I'm coming here with depression, the NLU model's job is to just label it to figure out what the intent of the user was and also extract any entities. So they would extract like, oh, the user is telling me about their presenting problem right now, why they came to therapy, and their presenting problem is depression. The other totally independent piece is a dialogue model. And the dialogue model, its job is just to figure out, based on what's been happening so far in the conversation, what should the bot do next? So the bot knows that somebody just told me about their presenting problem, and then I told them this, and then they told me this. So now I, as a bot, the next thing I need to do is say this. So one benefit of this framework is that these are two totally separate models. So when we developed our MVP, we realized that we wanted to, ship our product as quickly as possible. We decided to focus just on the dialogue model and to use buttons to sort of railroad the different possible intents that a user could say. So instead of just giving the user total free reign, let's just give them 10 things that they could be saying right now, and let's use that as we're shaping the entire dialogue model. And then our V2 of this project will be to open up to open text response, but we'll still be able to use the same dialogue model that we developed for the MVP, which is really nice. So just quickly, you don't have to examine this too deeply, but this is the schema that we set up. This is a lot. So basically, we set up our React app. That's our chat interface. And then it's communicating with this entire ecosystem within Amazon ECS. And these are all Docker services. And these components are all sort of come with Raza. So when you get started with Raza, there's this free open source platform. But if you want to pay for a subscription service to work with them, they give you sort of this kit. And it's this framework of all of these different units that work together to process the NLU piece and to process the dialog model. And it even comes with this platform UI, which is a nice little admin backend that you can use. I highly encourage you all to check out Raza. I'm a big fan of them. Okay. Oh man, wow, this got formatted so weirdly. So now you can, there's a word missing there. Let me tell you. It's taking cues from psychotherapy. So, so that was the most important word on this page. So when we set out to build this chatbot, it made a lot of sense to us that even though this chatbot is not going to perform therapy, its job is just to perform intake, basically, to welcome someone, explain how this works, answer any questions they have, and then set them up to begin therapy, right? We still knew that this was in a therapeutic context, so we looked for ways to sort of incorporate therapy into this, knowing that somebody is coming here in the first place because they want therapy. So we worked with a clinician and we employed something called motivational interviewing. Motivational interviewing is a psychotherapeutic technique. And one of the reasons we did this was sort of to combine therapy with a traditional sales funnel. So this is our traditional acquisition funnel. You start at the top of the funnel with awareness, consideration, and decision, and sort of mapping that to what people are doing at Talkspace. If somebody's coming and they're saying, is Talkspace the right solution for me? And then maybe they're further down the funnel, they're getting closer to a decision, and now they're wondering, should I commit to a Talkspace plan? And maybe someone at the bottom of the sales funnel is thinking, okay, I'm ready to start therapy with Talkspace. So we're imagining that everyone, or most people, are starting at the very top of the funnel, and the bot's job is to get someone to the bottom of the funnel and help them decide that they want to make a decision. So that's where motivational interviewing comes in. This is a technique where it is about, that's a lot of text on this page, isn't it? It's about getting someone to move from ambivalence to making a decision. So at the bottom here, the goals of motivational interviewing are to increase the person's motivation to change. And you want the person to make a commitment to change. So a common context for motivational interviewing is people suffering from addictions. So for instance, cigarette addiction. And the first step is to get them to just talking about wanting to not smoke anymore, and then helping them to feel resolved that they don't want to smoke. And a therapist practicing motivational interviewing is doing this in such a way that they're not telling you to do this, they're helping you say that you want to do this. So a few examples are, one strategy is to affirm change talk. So maybe the client says, I think I could quit smoking if I really decided, and then the therapist or the interviewer would jump in and say, once you make up your mind to do something, you get it done. So they're like, wow, this person's talking about change. I'm going to affirm that they're talking about something good. Let's just really, drive that in. A reflective listening, the client says, I just don't want to take pills. I ought to be able to handle this on my own. The interviewer says, you don't want to rely on a drug. It seems to you like a crutch. So they're not just exactly repeating what the client said. They're sort of picking a specific part of it that they want to enforce, which is that, the client doesn't want to rely on a drug. And then one other piece is exploring confidence. So just getting the client to talk about, why did you select a score of 6 on the confidence scale instead of a 3? Getting to have some metacognition where you reflect on why are you not confident or why are you confident. So a few examples of how we use motivational interviewing in our bot. So the bot is saying, so the user is saying here, I'm feeling anxious or panicky, and the bot is responding, sometimes these feelings make it seem like everything in life is very difficult. Does that sound right? The user is responding, yes. I understand, but take a second to appreciate that you're here, ready to feel better and exploring your options. That's no small feat. Why does today feel like the right time to start therapy? Someone close to me told me to try it. And then the bot's affirming this, so someone else may have given you a push in the right direction, but what's important is that you decided to take action. So that's an example. I worked very closely with a clinical therapist on this. And the goal, again, being to move someone from ambivalence to making a decision. And obviously, we use this for the therapy context. It made a lot of sense for us. But in doing this process, I believe that there is an opportunity for anyone in a similar sales funnel for a chatbot to incorporate some of these same techniques. Because again, if your goal is to move someone from ambivalence to making a decision, then there's a lot of motivational interviewing that you could use. So some examples here are different ways that you can incite and affirm change talk, so getting someone to talk about change, using reflective listening, and exploring confidence. So, yeah. So the MVP, so our Talkspace intake assistant, we built this simple chatbot. The path is tailored to input from the user, so whenever the user gives input about their presenting issue or their confidence that therapy will be helpful, etc., the path will sort of be changed to it. It also uses motivational interviewing techniques to activate a client's motivation for change. In this first version, as I mentioned, it's guided multiple choice. We decided not to worry about the NLU piece at first, and it also has the flexibility to address a variety of user concerns. I think, okay, very, very quickly, because I don't think we have much time. Let me, okay. Yes. Okay. You guys can also explore this on your own. I'm obviously not going to go in depth through this process. It's chat.talkspace.com. I'll put the link up. So here I am. Oops, that's not how you start a chatbot. Oh man. Okay. Okay. Ready to get started? Yes, I'm ready to get started. Okay. Explaining a little bit about Talkspace. Making sure that you're 13 or older, which I definitely am. Okay. It's confirming that you're not in a life-threatening situation right now. What led you to seek therapy today? I am feeling anxious or panicky. And so we're getting some affirmation right here. The feelings are overwhelming. And I'm going to say, that's not exactly it. You don't really understand what I'm saying. Tell me more about how I'm feeling. Okay. Okay. Why does today feel like the right time to start therapy? I'm tired of feeling stuck. I'm ready to take action. Okay, so here we are. It's exploring confidence right now. So I, like most people, am not really sure that therapy is going to help me, so I'm going to answer 3. Sounds like you're not too sure yet. Why aren't you feeling confident that will help? I'm not sure anyone will be able to help me. It's a common answer. So here we are. The bot remembers, obviously, that you came here for being anxious. It remembers that you have a low confidence, and it's trying to provide some information about therapy that might help counteract some of your hesitations. And now I'm going to go through this flow where I'm asking, how does Talkspace work, etc. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this entire flow, but you can explore it on your own. It's chat.talkspace.com. But that is, I wonder how I get back to my presentation. Okay. So that's our MVP for chatbot. Thank you very much. Also, we are hiring.